is Aditi Prabhu, and I'm a senior technology consultant with VMware India.
I'm Ipsita Tripathi. I'm a team manager managing the North and West Inside Sales team at VMware India.
Hi, this is Veena Chandrasekhar, and I'm the Director Inside Sales Practices at VMware India.
From the get-go, right from the interview process, I wanted to be part of this company. And when I finally did get in, people were so considerate of the fact that I was straight out of university, that I had no professional background, and they set up a proper comprehensive plan for me.
Young women striving to make a mark in high-pressure jobs like sales and technology really need role models and seniors who they can talk to, really discuss challenges with, and get inspired by. And I'm so glad to see more mentorship initiative in the industry. I try to be a good mentor to my team and pay it forward. I must say, VMware fosters a wonderfully supportive and inclusive work culture. Plus, I love its commitment to leveraging technology to drive positive change across the industry and the world.
I had some of the world's best mentors. I still remember 8 years ago when I started off, my mentor would take me on car rides to a customer meeting, and in the customer meeting I would be introduced as Aditi Prabhu, Associate Systems Engineer, and that was a high in itself because I had a designation. On the car ride back, I would be quizzed, or how would you have handled the objections differently? How would you have presented this topic? What would you have said to something the customer said? And this was an incredible learning experience for me. I learned on the job.
During these 5 years, I have received many awards at the India and Asia Pacific level, but the biggest moment of my career was when I was recognized globally for my performance.
At the beginning of this year, I got selected as one of the 7 CTO ambassadors from the APJ region from a whole lot of applications.
Sustainability, nature, and eco-conservation are important to me, and I love the fact that VMware's 2030 agenda stresses on equity, trust, and sustainability. I have quite a few women in my team, and it makes me feel so happy to see more women in the technology sales.
In 8 years, I've grown from being an intern to handling some of the largest customers in VMware India. I'm really excited to see what the next 8 years have in store for me here.
Lovely video, no? Great stories. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to VMware Nirman Sales Excellence. I'm Sujit John. I'm the Assistant Resident Editor at the Times of India, Bangalore. A lot of my focus is on technology writing and editing. It is my utmost pleasure to be here as a part of this VMware Nirman event. Today, we have the opportunity to hear from a group of experienced and accomplished sales leaders who will talk about their career journeys and the excitement of selling technology solutions. VMware Nirman was launched in 2019 as a unique forum for the industry to come together and work towards building a supportive ecosystem for nurturing women leaders. It is a platform that brings together experts from the industry to ideate, discuss, and act upon a solid plan of action for driving technology-driven positive change across the Indian IT workforce. Today's event, VMware Nirman Sales Excellence, is focused on sales professionals. Today, we will be talking to sales leaders from VMware on what organizations can do to nurture high-performing sales teams and what it takes to build successful careers in a field that is as dynamic and as dynamic as enterprise technology sales. Let me introduce you to our panelists. We have with us Sonali Kalyanikar. Sonali is based in Mumbai and is the Director of Sales for Banking and Financial Services at VMware. She has been in the tech industry for over 20 years. She started her career with IBM and has since then worked with companies like HP, Red Hat, and Nokia. We have Veena Chandrasekhar. Veena is the Director for Inside Sales at VMware. Veena and her team focus on mid-market customers. Veena has over 18 years of experience in sales, technology consulting, and relationship management. Veena has driven multi-million-dollar revenue growth while providing visionary sales leadership in highly competitive markets. She has been a part of organizations like HCL, Lenovo, and Dell. We have Sushmita Prasad, a sales leader who comes from a non-technical background. At VMware, Sushmita handles enterprises and global customers in the IT and ITES space. Sushmita's first brush with the tech industry was when she was an intern at a tech organization. And since then, there has been no looking back. She says after all these years, she loves her job in tech sales because it gives her the opportunity to make a difference to her customers and their organizations. And we have Aditi Chakrabarti. Aditi has been in the technology space for over 14 years, consulting from core servers to public and private cloud computing. She is now managing one of the most talked about workplace phenomena, Anywhere Workspace, which is VMware's solution for the hybrid workspace. So welcome to all four of you. Let's start with the first question. And I would love to hear from all of you. What is the one thing that you enjoy most about sales, especially tech sales? Who wants to start off? Aditi?
Aditi wants to go first.
Or Sushmita?
Sure. So I became part of the sales team quite later in my career. So I can tell by contrast, the last 5 years being part of this journey, you are much closer to real business and real outcomes. Projects that I was doing with VMware was affecting me, my family, my friends. It was helping with online transactions. It was helping with online airline booking. We were able to do things better and faster because of the projects that we were running. So there's a lot of kick and pride in doing that, doing something for your own family and your own country. But the other thing that also comes to mind is after doing these projects over a couple of months, our customers, people that we worked with, would come up to me and say, because of your project and your product, I got my next big promotion. I got this really big project. And there's so much positive energy and gratitude. I wish I could bottle it for some other bad day that I have.
Okay, people appreciating you for, because of you, they got their promotions. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Sushmita?
For me, sales has always been fascinating for me because I think it's always perceived to be high risk, high reward. But that aside, it's also a very responsible role. If you see companies, the health of an organization is basically judged on the amount of sales or revenue you bring into the company, right? So companies can go ahead and make cutting edge tech and products and offer the world-class services that they can, but it's the sales team that actually target those customers, make that connect and bring the revenue in. That's always been something, that gives me that high to kind of bring in the revenue of the company and keep that going. So I love sales. But when it comes to technology sales, every one of us is touched by technology these days. Who isn't influenced by that? And if you look at organizations, right from the startups to the largest conglomerates, everybody is heavily dependent on technology. So that's why, I love my job. I probably shouldn't say I love it too much because my bosses on the call will take me for granted and not give me a raise. But that said, tech sales is always something. I don't think I can do anything else. So I just really like tech sales.
Okay. Dina?
Okay, I think this is definitely one of the most aspiring jobs, right? You call it challenging, you call it rewarding. When I probably look at myself, I imagine this girl walking on a thin rope, right? With two bags in your hand. One is a bag of success and other is the bag of losses that I carry, right? And I think in many quarters, that is what we come across. We have a bag of success and bag of losses that we carry and walk around this thin line, right? Every time when you look back at all the success stories, I think that gives you the energy to keep going and conquering bigger heights. And when you look at losses, I think, it pushes you to go back and bring in the creative hat on, right? You're pushed to go back and, re-energize yourself, recharge yourself and get back on track. So you've got to make sure that you're not overburdened by the losses that you make and don't let the success get onto your head. So it's a balancing act. And the minute you lose the focus on both of these, you're off the chart, right? Because the journey is really long and you've got to keep going. So I think, this is a very, very addictive job. And, I thoroughly love being over here. And that's what I've been doing for many, many years now.
Addictive. Okay. I'm sure that's something that people, that's a word you would normally probably not hear with sales, but yeah, great to hear that. Sonali?
Yeah, many points are covered with my colleagues here in the panel, but solving customer problems, making an impact both for the customer and your organization, that just keeps me going, right? And that's the most exciting part of sales, engaging with different people with different backgrounds and solving various problems for customers. That's the most exciting part for me.
Yeah, so the common theme here is, customer success, of course, all of you are involved there, and the customer success gives you a high. But as Veena also said, I mean, losses are great learnings for you, and that balance is what I mean keeps challenging you and takes you forward. Aditi, to come back to you, what is the one sales story that you love narrating?
Oh, wow. My favorite sales story is actually a post-sale story. I joined the company 2 months in. I had a customer. We have a customer, still a strong standing relationship. There were some things that were not going well. We were taking care of it. We had made a get well plan for them, 30-day, 60-day, 120-day, and we were working through it. I had a few VPs visiting around that area, one from Ireland, one from Australia, and I wanted them to meet my customer, sort of validate our commitment to fixing the problem, right? Tell them that we are in here with you, you're important to us. We got into the meeting, we had a plan, and the meeting did not go well. It actually went incredibly bad. And as every good VP does, my VP ended the conversation saying, give me 24 hours, I'll look into this. We thought we were done for the day. It was around 4 p.m. And we thought we'd go back and we'd probably huddle back in the next day. But this VP, two of them, what they did was on the same customer floor, the day had ended. I think everyone from that company had left. We found another conference room. We all huddled in, and they took 20 minutes out, and they came back and they said, we're going to make a plan and we're going to fix this right now. Okay, right now, maybe tomorrow when we all come back fresh. No, right then. We all got our laptops out and we were there till 2 a.m. at the customer's office. And we made a plan to figure out how is it that we're going to get this customer to be successful. No 30-day plan, no 60-day plan. How is it that we're going to do this right now? The next 5 days, VP included, and a lot of people that flew in from all parts of the world, US, Ireland, China, India, we all got together, and 5 days continuously from 12 p.m. to 6 a.m. we were there in this Noida data center, figuring this out and fixing it for the customer. And we did. We were running on coffee and Red Bull the whole while, but we fixed it. The reason why I call this as my favorite sales story is two things happened because of this incident. First one, we were the underdogs in this customer's ecosystem. They had really big players always surrounding us, ready to get the opportunity and say, you know, forget these people, we are the right people for you, and it would be an easy switch. But with this incident, we cemented our partnership. And even today, and there are people on the call from the same account will tell that year 6, they continue to invest in us and our people. The second thing that this did was I was new in the job, and it empowered me immensely. It gave me the courage and also the pride that I worked for a company, VMware, that puts the customer first. We are not complacent. We are not listening to the customer ever. We actually want to do what is right by the customer and are willing to move mountains if needed to make the customer successful. So that empowerment and courage actually helped me be successful in all my other projects. That's my favorite sales story to say.
This was how many years ago?
This was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Yeah. Okay.
And you often run across these kind of projects where you have to do everything in a few days and all that?
There have been a few incidents where VMware has taken the decision to do whatever it takes. And when I say whatever it takes to make a customer successful. Okay. Because they are doing real things. For this particular customer, it was affecting real people. And fixing this was a huge, huge benefit for all of us.
Okay. Sushmita, you come from a non-tech background. How would you describe your experience of having been and being a part of tech sales? But before that, I mean, let me ask you, what did you study?
I did my master's in marketing and BBA, MBA all through. So it's never been a tech background for me. So
okay.
That's why, and by my internship in the IT firm I was talking about, when I went there, I didn't even know what an RFP was. RFP is request for response. So I got bullied a little bit saying that you don't know what an RFP is, but you're coming to an IT firm to do an internship. And I'm like, okay, give me a couple of days. And then 3 weeks later, I'm in love with the IT industry. So that was my calling. So I got a pre-placement offer after that internship, and then went on to doing sales, and there was no looking back. So that's where that's how my journey started. But that said, I've always ensured that very early on, I made a note to myself saying, because I'm from a non-tech background, I would learn tech on the job because I need to know enough to sell because we are in sales.
So I consciously made a note that every time I transition into a new job or take up a new role, it would be different from the existing one. So that way I get to learn across, right? So I went from selling hardcore, heavy duty network equipment to the largest service providers from one of my earliest jobs. And to now, being part of VMware, I also sell into move the cloud. We do a lot of software and everything else in the large enterprise space. So we've seen that, and in VMware, it really gives you the opportunity to switch it up, right? It opens up the opportunity for you to pick up customers you need, be part of different teams. I had the opportunity to actually handle manufacturing customers, IT, ITS, and now global customers as well. So the principle of sales remains the same, but every customer setup is unique. Every customer sale is unique because if you look at customers in Eastern Europe, their security and regulatory norms are extremely different from those in South Asia, for that matter, or in India or in the United States. But at the end of it, it's two large organizations coming together to ensure that there's a mutually beneficial engagement and a long-term partnership that's built. And that's what you as a sales team enables that for the customer. So that gives you, a different kind of a high, and it gives you the responsibility to ensure you do the right thing by both your organization, your customer, and definitely yourself. So, and for somebody who loves their job as much as I do, you always make it fun. So my experience has been good so far.
How long did it take you to learn all tech jargon and stuff? I mean, to understand the industry itself?
Well, I went from, honestly, I know enough to sell. If you double click a little bit, I can get away with it, but it depends on where and what part of the entire network we're talking about. So I know enough to understand that when the customer needs a little more deep digging, we bring in the forces, you bring in your technical team, you bring in your product management team and all of that. But it's extremely important for you to be able to be taken seriously by the customer. You need to know what your company is about and where it actually fits into the customer environment. So it's extremely important, even if you have a non-technical background, to know enough to understand, be it the customer's data center or be it, wherever it is in the cloud, what are the services that you can align or, constantly look for these avenues to work with. You need to be able to identify that. So you need to learn. So to your point, it always takes me a little bit time to kind of get on that, but I'm a quick learner and I've had over a decade of experience. So I hope I'm not doing too badly at that.
I'm sure you're not.
Sushmita, my business, right? Digital workspace, all the jargons with that.
One of my first wins in VMware, longest sales cycle, by the way, but it was digital workspace. So I'm a little partial to your line of business. So yes.
And newer terms keep coming up. No, I struggle with this. Actually, it took me a very long time to understand VMware, what VMware does. This was early last decade.
No, actually, yeah. Murad's on the call here. Murad's our technical leader, and I still remember there was one of the customers we went to in Chennai, and he mentioned something, and it said something like Shah. It's like Shah Rukh Khan Shah, and I kind of wrote it down twice because I wasn't sure what I heard. And he is really sharp. He actually saw it and he just kept quiet. It was like my first or second month in the company. I was too embarrassed to ask him what it meant because he's the technical head, right? He probably think it's a wrong hire. And then I thought it missed his eye, but clearly nothing misses Murad's eye. So we walked out of that and I'm like, okay, so you got what the customer said, right? So let's get to it. He's like, I saw what you did on your notebook. You didn't know what you said. So we've had all of those experiences. But that said, I think today Murad asks me things, I would definitely, pass with flying colors. So yeah, there you go. He's put that on the
I also heard about Shah very recently. Sonali, you are someone who meets with customers in the BFSI vertical. It's known to be a very hypersensitive vertical. How or why is selling in the BFSI vertical different from selling tech to customers in other verticals?
Sure. Organizations in BFSI, the customers in BFSI tend to be a little more evolved in their maturity level compared to their counterparts, say in a retail or a manufacturing sector, right? When it comes to technology, they are a little more advanced and learned, I feel, primarily because technology is their core. Unlike any other vertical, that is their product, that they create their products around technology. And they're also one of those early adopters for all the cutting edge tech that we have today, AI, ML. They would want to leverage everything to be, on top of their game. They're also bound by the regulators such as RBI, SEBI, etc. So it's important to be for us when we're selling to the BFSI vertical customers to be very aware of what's going on around, and while interacting with these customers, really be on top of our game. It also helps to have knowledge with other fintech that works with our own offerings, right? So it's critical to know their pain points. These are true for any other vertical, but it just is a lot more advanced when it comes to the BFSI vertical, Sujit.
No, true. I mean, we cover the IT services companies because they are all these big Indian companies. All of them have at least 30% of their, I think, revenue coming from BFSI. Yeah, I mean, by far, for I think a lot of these companies, banking is by far the banking and financial services generally the biggest business. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I think they adopt technology much faster than anybody else generally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, so that means you really must know your domain and all that very well. They would also pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's more advanced, right? They are always a step ahead in terms of adopting new tech. So you always have to be a very fast learner and adopt. Us as sellers and even organizations, I would say, even VMware has to, change their strategies to align to such, advanced technologically advanced verticals. So yeah.
Okay. Veena, mentorship. You often speak about that. Why do you think mentorship is important, and how has that helped you?
A very interesting topic, Sujit, this is, right? See, it's like, talking psychology to my family. If you approach my family and you would say that, let's talk about psychology, I think within minutes they'll disconnect completely from you, right? Because that is something we associate with madness, but we don't see, psychology as a cure for a lot of things, right? Mentorship is something like that. And let me be very honest, that's how I approached it at some point of time in my career. It almost felt like, I getting put across for extra classes, right? But the fact is, once I decided to go back and impress, I was put into a mentorship program, by the way, right? And it happened at a point of time in my career where, I was probably, I hit the door and I was not very sure, how do I kind of go forward, right? And it was early on in my career, and I was very pushy about it. Finally, the day I decided to kind of go back and embrace this whole thing, then, there was no looking back, right? And I think I've probably made one of the finest decisions thanks to all the mentorship program that I've kind of been able to go back and take advantage of. So to everybody out there, the first thing that I'd probably go back and say is that, start with mentorship pretty early on in your career, right? You probably end up making much more right and faster decisions with time. The second thing that everybody needs to remember is that what has taken you here is not going to take you there, right? You might be the Oprah Winfrey of sales, but that's not going to qualify you to go back and become the Jeff Bezos of Amazon, right? The skill sets are very different, right? And with every job that you change, or with every, every step that you take ahead in your career, it's extremely important that, you have somebody who's walked through that path, is able to kind of go back and guide you. And if it means that you can run a 100-meter race in 80 meters, why not, right? So, the mentors are like these magical hands, right? And they help you see, what you probably can't otherwise visualize, right? You're stuck to a role and you think you're sometimes overburdened with success, right? We probably live in a society where success is so much overrated that you think you know it all, right? And you sit on that for quite a long time. And when you have this opportunity to go back with an experienced hand, it kind of changes the whole course for you. So I think my biggest take on mentorship is these three things, right? Start on early with your career, right? On the mentorship program, it's got great advantages. The second most thing is what's taken you here is not going to take you there. And that's where these mentors come and play a big role. And, you need to see it to be there, right? And I think that visual effect comes in through mentors too. So yeah, that's my story on mentorship.
Who are these mentors typically, Veena? Do you approach them or they suggest somebody? How does it work?
I think, you've got to take control of your career. And, it's important that, and you get into a kind of a relationship with your mentor, right? I mean, I need to get transparent with my mentors. My comfort zone, when I select mentors, I make sure that I'm able to be what I am with them, right? I've got a personal side, I've got a professional side, and I get to work with a lot of established leaders in my industry, but somebody across from an industry gives me an unbiased view of what steps I should be taking forward, right? So I think, those are criteria that one needs to go back and assess. But yeah, my recommendation personally from what I've learned in my career is that, I've been comfortable talking with people who are part of the industry, seasoned players in the industry, but not probably, my immediate leaders or somebody fraternity or a fraternity that's working inside the organization. Yeah.
So if you approach one of your senior leaders, I mean, they will normally accept, is it?
Oh, yeah.
That,
yeah, why wouldn't somebody within the organization not accept for a mentorship program, right? We know what it has to be here, right? And if it means going back and, giving certain helping hands to people who are really young in the organization, why not, right? So, I don't think anybody from a leadership team will ever say no to it, right? Yeah.
Okay. And what does it involve? I mean, you go to that person whenever you are confused, you need to learn something? How does it work?
And it calls for a lot of time, right? So this is not a buy and take that you decide that, hey, tomorrow I'm going to sit with my mentor. I need to have a solve for the problem. It just doesn't work like that. You have a goal that you discuss, you put a timeline to it, right? And as and when things move, I think some of these very difficult decisions, right, that you want to take in your career, sometimes you need that extra push, right? You need somebody to come and nudge you to go back and have that conversation. And I think that is where I found these guys to be extremely useful, right? So, it's not something where you decide, it's a long-term relationship, right? I've spent probably a year and a half and it takes time, right? It's not that over a coffee you get comfortable talking. It took me a good 3 months to be myself with my mentor, to be honest. You're gauging each other. You're not very sure that, the guy can support you. So you do all of that assessment. And once you get into that comfort zone, and then things start rolling for you. You're not going to say anything immediate, right? But, there is this one person you can fall back on, double click on, and probably, have a conversation before you take certain critical decisions in your life.
Okay. I guess it's not something for just women or something. I'm sure men would equally benefit, no?
Oh, absolutely. I think, the blue-collar people have equal problems to go back and address, right? And I think it's got nothing to do with the fact that, and I think we've got more of men in our profession, right? And I think I've got, all my mentors have been men, in all honesty, right? And I think they've got, they've seen the world more, they've been there more, and, they carry their own experiences. I think it's easy for me to kind of go back and have that conversation going. And I think it's with time, you kind of get into that comfort zone. So it's more important that you got to get into a relation with somebody with whom you're able to kind of peel the onion completely, right? And not just be somebody who you're not. So remove your mask, get ready for that.
Okay.
And to Veena's point, Sujit, I think I've been a part of a mentorship program as well, and it's very well thought out, specifically in VMware, right? You get to choose your mentors. And I think the tip I would probably give people who are looking for that mentorship is look at somebody you're not entirely comfortable with, because then they'll push you. And mentors don't tell you what to do; they give you a perspective and they guide you. Right? And it's open, right? It depends on how you want to set that pace of your mentorship. So I saw a couple of questions in the panel saying, how do we go out and reach? And I'll probably help you with that. Within VMware, there are mentorship programs you can avail. And like what Veena said, is definitely not gender specific, because I've had really good mentors who've been men all along. And the advantage of having both male and female mentors is because they bring a different flavor to the table, right? Women are a little more empathetic and more sensitive, I would say. Men are a little more pragmatic, but you use the best of both worlds. And it's not just because of that. I mean, obviously we are women, so we're more sensitive, but on a larger scale, I think a lot of the times women, our aggression is misconstrued as rude and bossy and things like that. So these are things in a mentorship program you can discuss openly, because as salespeople, right, we're consciously in front of customers. You've got to be aware of how you come across and all of that. You've got to be your natural self, that's true. But there are these small little nuances which is important for us to grow, like what Veena said, what got you here won't get you there. These are things that mentors can actually bring to you. So it doesn't have to be all professional. It also kind of builds your entire personality overall. So that's something I would honestly, like Veena said, advise everybody who gets a chance to definitely pick a good mentor.
Good mentor. Very interesting. Aditi, to come back to you, how has sales evolved from the time you started your career?
Wow, it has changed a lot. I come from the cold storage. From the beginning of my career, was selling cold storage. So we would just sell boxes and we would not see the customer for a year. So since then, things have evolved a lot. Technology has evolved and it's gotten very abstract, which means it's very replaceable now. So if customers don't like it, you're out of the door. And there's a lot of competition, and that's the reality of it. So everyone has to bring their best game forward. You can't just go sell something and not know what is it that the customer is doing with it or what outcome it's going to bring to the customer. Nowadays, technology sales, or any sales really, even your consumer tech, is very focused on outcomes. It's not about take my product or here, this is my product. It's about customer, you have a problem. I think we can fix this with my product and then give you this business benefit. And that's not just a one-time discussion. It's the entire journey now. I think well-thought enterprise companies do this really well, is right from the pre-sale start, when you're actually talking about the problem and the business outcome that you want to achieve, to the post-sales where you're delivering it, where you're showing it, where you're kind of getting to the part where the problem is getting solved, and to even managing it. That entire piece, the communication, the hand-holding, the white glove treatment, all of that now has become part and parcel of tech sales in today's day and age. I'm sure everyone else is nodding along and they can acknowledge how much difference has happened. It's far more transparent than it has ever been, I think.
Okay. Anybody wants to add to that?
I actually would like to, sorry Aditi, but I would like to answer one question. I think there's somebody on the chat, and it's important for us because it's an anonymous attendee. He or she says, is it okay to ask for help or admit you don't understand something? I think it's always important to ask for help, right? I mean, everybody who's been successful has never shied away from asking for help. We do it all the time. And unless you ask for help, people would never know that you actually need that help. Nobody's going to come and pat you on your shoulder and say, do you need help? Can I help you? Right? Because like what Veena mentioned, we walk a thin rope. You have your successes and your failures. You have the thin balance. All of us deal with tough choices, every single day. When you have those failures which come in, as salespeople, we're responsible for a territory or a team or a certain line of business, right? And we are measured on numbers. Now, it's obviously a high pressure kind of situation, which is perceived to be a high pressure situation. But it's like when you're responsible for that business and you have successes, nobody questions you. But when you have those failures, people will obviously want to come and say, why did you fail? So when you do that, right, it's important to zoom out and try and understand the entire setup and see why is it that you failed, and realize and assess the situation if you have done everything that you possibly can. When that's done and you're exhausted your options, it's important to ask for help. Be it your peers, your leadership, because it's their business too. It's not just you, right? It's a whole company and organization together. And it's when you ask for that help, people guide you, you can learn off their experiences, and you know what not to do the next time. So I think it's extremely important, whoever asked that question, continue to ask for help. There is nothing to shy away from, because it also gets your leadership involved. And at the end of it, it's also upward delegation, right? I mean, it's their business too. So you can also get them to do stuff for you.
I hope Sushmita's manager is listening to her right now.
But he's in the meeting, so I'm sure he's not here. But no, but on a serious note, right? Business leaders want to be involved. Specifically, they would like to kind of give their suggestions because they've grown up the ladder, probably experiencing all that we've had. So I think it's extremely important. Please don't shy away from asking for help. All of us have. And Veena and Sonali head teams. So I'm sure that, I know Sonali for a while. I've known that I walked up to Sonali so many times to get perspective from her. So please don't shy away from it, because you're losing out a lot of pearls of wisdom and you can learn off their experiences.
Yeah, ask for help. Yeah. Aditi, I just wanted to come back to that also, how things have changed. A lot of regulations, laws have come in. I wanted to ask you this question. Would you say the risk of sexual harassment is higher in sales, since you have to meet all kinds of customers? And if so, how would you deal with something like that?
So no, I wouldn't say it's higher in sales just because of that. I think generally the ecosystem, which is not just my company, but even our customers, we have evolved a lot over the last couple of years. The awareness, the understanding of what that entails has all been addressed. And I think as a company, VMware, they clearly say what are the rules and regulations, which empowers anybody, regardless of whether you're an employee or contractor. But as long as you're associated with VMware, it knows that if any kind of these actions were to happen to you, you are well protected and well within your right to just turn out and walk away, and all the actions that can be taken as a result of that. So I don't think it's a very sale predominant thing. I think it can happen anywhere. But the highlight of it is there's more awareness, people are talking about it, there are clear policies, and there are constant enablement, so that the newest of the newest and the oldest of the oldest, they know their rights and their position.
Yeah.
To what Aditi mentions, because I think, like she said, awareness, it's extremely important for us to report it, because it's no excuse for you. If you sense, if you're always working in situations like what she said, right? They spend 24 hours, 48 hours in a conference room. You're all putting your heads together to solve these solutions. You're working with partner environments. You're working with a customer. If you sense any kind of a discomfort, you always have to talk about it. Like I said, nobody's going to come and ask you if you need help. If you need help, and it's not wrong, because there is a professional line you don't cross. And VMware is very, very empowered in terms of having these hotlines. They have councils and committees internally who you can go up to and have anonymous conversations or have conversations openly. And like Aditi mentioned, you get them to actually take action. And I can give you an example without quoting names right here. One of our partner companies, this happened with one of our global customers, she's my global counterpart. She was traveling down, and she kind of felt a little bit of discomfort with one of the partner communities that she reported to the VMware HR. VMware HR actually got in touch with the partner HR person. That person was, they did an investigation, because sometimes it's important to get that through. And in about 2 days, that person was let go, even though that gentleman was an extremely powerful, in a powerful role and all of that, because we take these things very seriously. Partner environment and all of that, there is a whole community to ensure, we empower everybody, not just women, but everybody per se. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, so good to hear that. Yeah.
Again, you need to ask for help. So
Yeah.
you need to be aware
Ask
and
for help.
report it.
Yeah, absolutely. Report it and ask for help. Yeah, absolutely. Sonali, what would be your advice for someone who's deliberating upon a career in sales?
I would say a couple of things, right? When you are considering a career in sales, first, and the most important thing is you need to know your organization's products and offerings really well. You need to know your customer really well to be successful, right? Knowing your customer at a personal level definitely works best. But if you're not able to do that, and if you don't have that kind of time to build a relationship, having a working knowledge of who you're dealing with or what problems you're solving for your customers is really important, right? We spoke enough, right? You need to keep yourself updated of the other areas and what complements your products and services. For example, primarily if you like Sushmita gave examples of getting to know her networking tech really well. Say if you're in your infrastructure space, having knowledge of the application space or vice versa is important for you to sound knowledgeable, for you to give that confidence to your customers, right? And as a salesperson, we all have our ups and downs, clearly. We all have our highs and lows. I would only suggest that, you need to be keep yourself motivated, be self-motivated, be optimistic. That's really important in sales. Keep those shining eyes and approach every deal with that sense of urgency, right? That this is the most important deal of my life. That's at least kept me going always. And we spoke about mentorship, where Veena gave how important it is to have mentorship and start it early on in the career. I was very fortunate to work with a very senior leader in the industry. She's Neelam Dhawan. Many of you might know her. If you don't know her, Google her. She was one of the best, and I still keep talking to her, right? And she kept encouraging me to do my best. And having a mentor like that really helps, because when you're facing challenges, when you have to make tough decisions, getting to talking to a mentor like that and they showing you a path forward really helps. So, these 3-4 things are really critical, and that's what I think I would advise people here.
Okay. Any certificates, degrees, those kinds of things that will help?
But learning always helps, right? You have to be a constant learner. I was dealing with a committee today. We just had a negotiation before this, and those people come up with weird asks and requests. So it's important that you keep learning, you keep yourself updated, so you're able to deal with people who are a lot more senior and are able to manage things for your organization. Absolutely, they help.
Okay. Can you recall a day that you would think? Sorry, somebody was saying something?
Carry on, Sujit. I'll probably add my points after you're done.
Okay. No, I was just asking Sonali, can you recall a day that you would think has been the best day of your career?
Oh yeah, of course. We have many best days, I would say, but one of my best day was when I got selected for President's Club for my earlier organization, for closing the largest deal for the country. That organization had never seen a deal of that size. And we were in a movie theater when that mail came, and we are so used to still scrolling our mails even when you're watching a movie. And in that silent theater, I'm like, yay, I finally made it. And that was, so that was one of my best days. I still recall them really well.
Okay, how long ago was that?
This was about 5-6 years ago.
Okay, wonderful.
For us salespeople, hitting club is a different kind of high. That's like nirvana for us. So we look forward to it.
Okay.
And I'll probably add to a few of these things what Sonali said, that I think in the game, there's only one king, and that's your customer. As long as he's taken care of, he's pleased, you're on the right track, right? The minute you lose focus from him and try and do something else, you've lost the plot completely, right? So I think, he's like the Shah Rukh Khan of Bollywood, and he needs all the attention if you're having a conversation with him. And that's the most critical, important thing, right? The second thing is, when you talk about sales, it's pretty close to sports, right? And
I love running personally, and I follow Usain Bolt a lot. Not that I intend to become an Usain Bolt, but it's interesting, right? There's a Usain Bolt who walks up to the racetrack, and he's got this 2 minutes. He runs for an Olympic, probably does a 100-meter race, and what people see is that him going back and beating his his own numbers that he's clocked over and over and over and again, right? What you don't get to see is the amount of time and energy and grit and passion and all of that the guy has probably spent in the last 1 year to get that 2 minute of fame happen for him, right? And I think that's really the most important thing, right? I think what goes into making people successful, and people keep asking this, right? How do you get successful in sales? And Sujit, if you know any tablet that's available for being successful in any profession, I'm willing to pay a big premium for it. But that's a fact, right? There's probably nothing called as success, but it's more about the fact that what can keep you going, right? What can keep you on your toe to keep moving forward in life. So I think, and the third thing, I'll talk about my own team, right? I have 70% of people who are MBA grads. They're not technically trained, okay? They are pure grads who join our team and who pass out from campus, and they're doing wonderfully great. One of my, team member, was a lawyer by background, right? And he's doing extremely well in sales. And I think it's more about the fact that how fast and how willing you are to go back and train and untrain your mind, right? If you're not able to do that, you will hit a roadblock eventually. And after that, you're going to be directionless. So it's so very important to have that mindset of being able to train and untrain, because that's the beauty of the job. Today, I might have 5 products that I'm going back and selling. You look at VMware, we're going back and acquiring more of products into our portfolio just to make our story more powerful to our customers, right? And, you have to be ready to go back and redo this over and over again, right? So I think, if you largely ask me, it's very, very critical that, we build in that mentality, and it's got really nothing to do with, the qualifications that you carry and degree. But as long as you have the willpower, you've got a mind to go back and learn, because you're having conversations with people who've been in the industry for very long, right? And they know so much more about your products. So it's important that you're prepared and really how to go back and articulate your story really well. And you have diverse kind of customers, right? For some, you play the role of an account relationship. For some, you're literally an advisor, right? And you've got to you have to keep juggling your lives between different kind of roles. So it needs a lot of flexibility. So you don't just make a career in sales because you have certifications and degree. It qualifies, right? It also shows that you have the strength in you to go back and keep learning. But I think importantly, I think a lot of other aspects also makes you a very, very good salesperson. Yeah.
Okay, willpower, desire to learn. But younger lot, I mean, you have enough time to understand each customer very well. I mean, are you handling, in some cases, would you be handling too many customers and you can't focus on one enough?
Oh, that happens all the time. But
you just...
Yeah. So actually that relates to a question one of the, somebody from the audience has actually asked us, if you don't mind, I'll read that out. He said there's an overload of information all around. How do you keep up, right? It's true. See, but I think let's understand that you have to be, first priority is your company and what the company does. It's important for you to know that. It's really, really important for you to keep up in terms of what acquisitions we make, what kind of tech are we, kind of acquiring, what is our story, because that's the most important. We know that everywhere around us, things are developing, and it's good to know. But when you're handling a set of customers, and like what Nina mentioned, you've got to give them that importance. It's important to first understand what your company does and what your customers do, so that you can prioritize business. Because at the end of it, all of us are talking to customers to, engage and get that revenue in and build a partnership per se, right? Once you start, take baby steps, right? Look at what your company does, map it to what your customer does, look at your customer environment or your industry, and then move on. Additional information, I would always say, when you have the time, and I'm probably the wrong person to say this, but read up, or, you have these, snippets, which VMware has a source page, all of the things that's happening around the world, relevant to your industry, relevant to your customer's industry, that keeps coming up. So take the time to read that. But I think more importantly, when you engage with your technical teams, right? And normally our counterparts are hardcore technical people who keep up. They have to keep up because they are the ones who articulate the entire solution. They are the best source of knowledge. But priority-wise, your company, your customers place first. Of course, what's happening in the industry which affects it, that's something you need to keep up. But the earliest and the easiest way is talk to your technical people, because they are always up to date. And information overload is there for all of us, but you just got to pick and choose what you want to prioritize.
Prioritize is what you're saying.
Yeah, because you've got to get that conversation going. It doesn't make sense if there's a security governance, governance law which has come out for the banking sector. You can't go and talk about that to somebody from the manufacturing bit, which has no relevance. It's important to know. It's absolutely important to know because you are in the tech industry, right? But you have to make relevant conversation. So you might want to kind of check what in the manufacturing, in semiconductor industry, for example, the security norms are really, really high. You can relate to that, saying that, in the banking industry, there are certain security governances which the RBI has laid out. So we are playing in that space for being highly security oriented. We focus on that. That said, security in the BFSI is completely different from what happens in the semiconductor industry, because their security laws are completely different in terms of what they can or cannot do. So that's something you've got to kind of pick and choose in terms of how you get that flow of information and be relevant to your customers. So information overload is always a pain, specifically for people like me who are non-tech, but I think you've got to keep up.
Okay. Quick one to Veena, before we come to some audience questions. You are head of inside sales. Tell me, what is inside sales and what do you enjoy most about it?
Okay, that's like, a counter answer to Sonali's question, right? I work with this bunch of really young grads, right? 70% of my team are young grads. So you qualify to apply for my team if you're young at mind, not by age. Age doesn't matter, but you've got to have that youngness in your mind, because, these are a bunch of really enthusiastic people, very passionate about what they do. And they push you to go back and try things that you otherwise would not. Right. And, if you ask about the kind of customers that we go back and handle, it's very different from probably what Sonali does. Sonali manages the big wigs of the country, the SBIs and the Infosys, and my team goes back and manages this whole landscape of mid-market, right? Our budgets are very different. Our problems are very different. And we've got mix of customers out there. Like I said, for some, we are consultants. For some, we're probably, relationship manager. And the problems are very different. And what it takes for us to be relevant to our customers is to really integrate well with them, really understand what is the problem that they're trying to solve, how VMware can go back and complement this entire thing. And as a part of this, we get to work with a lot of diverse people, our partners, consultants, OEM, they all become very relevant in our entire storytelling to our customers, right? So it's an area of things that we kind of go back into. And, some of the customers really know what VMware strategy is all about, what a visionary company we are, the kind of strong product line that we have. And then we've got a set of people who don't really understand that, right? The problems, like I was mentioning, is very different, right? So, you get to work with very diverse kind of customers out there. So, like I said, it's a great team. It's highly energetic, and we're more like a family today, right? We're closely knit, and there's so much of energy flowing inside. And what qualifies, like I said, is only that you've got to be young at mind. You have to be willing to go back and learn and unlearn. And like I said, we've got people like lawyers who come back and join. A lot of them have probably degrees in, marketing, or, they've done their MBA graduation. Talking about me, I did, my engineering graduation from electrical and electronics. What I'm doing is something very different. So I probably wasted a seat in engineering, but, no matter what, but I think I'm happy with what I'm going back and doing today. But largely that's the team and the people that I get to work with day in, day out.
Yeah.
And I would just want to add to what Veena said. 20 years back, 2 decades back, I started my career as inside sales, and then there was no looking back, right? I think that this profession gives the kind of confidence to you because you're selling over the phone. Going in front of the customer and selling, that engagement is very different versus doing it virtually. So it's an excellent opportunity if you're getting to start your career with inside sales and then move forward. Yeah.
They honestly, to add to what Sonali said, they are frontline warriors, if you ask us, right? Because Veena's team not only handles that market, they also generate leads for, for the larger team to kind of take over and move forward. And during the pandemic, right, all of us kind of became part of the inside sales team. And I still remember talking to my colleagues in Veena's team saying that, how do you guys do it every single day? Because none of us could go on the field. We had to talk to our customers over the phone, and it was a new normal for all of us, right? But the advantage we still had is we knew these customers. So it was still okay to pick up the phone and talk. The challenge with the team with Veena faces is every single day they have a bunch of new customers. They have to go and get those people get new logos onto VMware. So honestly, hats off to them, because it's a really, really tough job compared to most of us.
Yeah, you got to get your elevator pitch on and better be strong. You get only two.
And time and again.
Hundreds of rejections, right? And so I think, once you've mouthed out of this entire job, rejections just don't matter for you, right? You've seen so much already, right? But the point is that you use a lot of latest technology, right? We use intelligence that's available to us so that we are making relevant conversation. And it prepares you to go so much more, strongly, because that's all is the time that you get, right? And and this is really for people who are really strong at heart, because, you do 10 calls and maybe one gets answered, and, and from then you hook onto that and you try and see how do you push that forward.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. Okay, we have some 10, 11 minutes left. We've got some questions from the audiences who registered before when they were registering for the event. Let me just go through some of those. We'll have to make it quick. This one is for you, Sushmita. You said it actually. You said it just now. And this question is asking, is it a tough job? Of course, you're talking specifically about inside sales, but generally speaking, is it a tough job? How do you handle pressures of numbers and targets?
Okay. So I know honestly, pressure. You look at kids who are studying in grade school these days have pressure of online studying and the kind of project they do. I mean, my nephew is 10 years old, and some of the words he uses, I honestly use the dictionary and I get ridiculed by my sister, right? So pressure is everywhere. I think you just got to take the pressure out of the quotient when you're doing our job. Numbers and targets are there because obviously sales are measured on that, and we bring in the revenue, which is a given, right? But I think what is important is execution and planning. When you have a plan in place and you execute it to the T, nobody questions you. And more often than not, you are successful. But yeah, there are going to be setbacks, and there's always a learning which you have. But it's very, very important, like I've said it before, to understand your setup, you understand your customer setup, and do that planning. Because then what happens is you assess the risks way in advance. You know which quarter you're going to be, sulking a little bit. It might not be great. Which quarter you know that you're going to compensate for the quarter previously. So what happens is when you have the business plan ready, even your leadership will understand that they will not agree for the number. They'll be like, you have to deliver every quarter on quarter, but at least they know that she has a plan, she or he has a plan. So it's extremely important, right? Plan is important, execution of the T based on the plan. Sometimes it probably might not work, and that's something that's part of the game. But 90% of the time, when you have an tight plan, it works. And if you look at Dhoni, for example, I love saying this example, right? Because I'm a huge Chennai Super Kings fan. Every time he comes into the last over, we know that he's going to take us over the line, right? I mean, that's Dhoni for us. But the meticulous planning that goes behind it, he understands his team, he knows what position each player should play, he understands his opponent, he understands the field setting. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. And then he sometimes doesn't finish the game for us. So it's all part of it. It's just that when you love your job and you plan better and you know that for a fact that you can do better, you take the pressure out of it. Because then you constantly can't get into a sales job by saying there's pressure, there's pressure, there's pressure. You will not enjoy it. Okay. But like one of my mentors said within VMware, he said, do what is right for your customer and continue to do all the right work. Numbers will happen and it'll take care of itself. And believe me, I didn't believe him. I thought he was giving me a sales kind of a gyan when I joined in, and he was right because I was given a completely new territory, and I was venting and screaming and usual sales natak that we do. I'm like, how am I supposed to do this? He's like, just do what you have to do and do your thing. At the end of the year, we'll talk, and that's exactly what happened. So it's not
so plan well. So if you don't meet your numbers for a quarter, you tell Pradeep that you have this plan for the next quarter. Is it?
No, no, I love my job. I still want to keep it. So moving on. Next question, please.
No, but I think hard work does prevail.
No,
right? That's what everyone is saying. So it does. It may not work out that quarter, but it's going to. It doesn't vanish suddenly if you put in 5 quarters worth of hard work. It will eventually pay out. So be optimistic.
Yeah. So and to your point, I think leaders, especially in VMware, you mentioned Pradeep. So he obviously likes to see a plan. And our leaders are aggressive, right? That's why we get to deliver those numbers quarter on quarter, and we do well. You've seen the results yourself. So they need a plan, and they're empathetic enough to understand the conditions, right? We all went through the pandemic, and the kind of support we got from our leadership internally, understanding what we're going in at home, balancing what we're doing at work. I know most organizations do it, but I think VMware went over and above that. And I'm just saying it out in public because we all keep discussing that. So like we said, as long as you do what is right by the company, yourself, and your customers, and you have a plan, sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. At least the leadership needs to have a view, because at the end of it, it's their business, right? It's also their ownership for it. So yeah.
Okay. Sonali, this is for you. Do you face biases when it comes to sales, either in your organization or when you meet with customers?
Well, I would say yes and no, because from a perspective of being a woman, when I started my career, of course, I was one of the only ones in the room. And sometimes there are still situations where I'm the only one in the room with men, around 10, 15, 20 men, and, managing it. So yes, there are a few biases, but I think that's pretty much, changing. Times are changed, people are changing with times. And more and more women have been successful in navigating technology sales today. So there has been change in attitudes overall, I feel, and it's becoming a less of a challenge. But still, there are those elements, right, where a lot of people say that you can bond better with your customer or colleague over a sutta break. I tell them you can have your sutta and I'll have my chai. So overall, I think it's a lot more manageable today. More important is one's knowledge about their organization and your offerings, right? And the way you carry yourself. That is very important. And that I feel creates an impression. And then the gender biases just amplifies all those perceptions, right? But what if you are in control of what you are selling, how you are engaging with your customer, beyond the point whether you are a male or a female, I think those are getting better, much better today.
Okay. Yeah, the other day we were having a discussion, and I think it was Aditi who said, no, that you went with a male colleague and the customer kept looking at the male colleague, even though you were the one.
Oh, it still happens. It still
That happens all the time, is it?
That was Sushmita, but then everyone's nodding. So
Oh, Sushmita said, Sushmita, that happened with Sushmita. Okay.
Oh, it still happens. It still happens.
Yeah.
If there is a male colleague, they are very comfortable looking at them and talking to them. Yeah.
But they do change, huh? After a point, when they start engaging, when they get to know you.
when they get to know you, yes. Which is why, again, the hard work prevails.
Hard work,
knowing what you're selling.
Knowing your
is more
customer
important.
and knowing your job. Yeah, I guess that will definitely change their mind.
Yeah, but I think for us, like I mentioned, Sujit, when we were discussing that day, we remove the gender from our own mind out of it, and we just other colleagues. It works better for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sujit, I want to take this question, which I think
Sure.
forms is, and Veena, Sonali, Sushmita, whoever wants to take it. How do you mold a customer's perception when you think the solution you are offering is better than the one they want? The customer wants it to be on-prem, but you think the better fit for them long-term would be online or a SaaS solution. So when you know better, how do you convince a customer?
I can take that. So the way you can convince a customer is by demonstrating what you want to say, that is better, say a SaaS or a cloud, why it is better. References, right? Customers get comfortable when they see it live running. When that's how they will get confidence that, okay, they demonstrated it, they referenced it, and proved it properly that why that particular solution is better. That's how you build confidence. Veena or Sushmita, if you want to add.
No, I think, Sonali, you're bang on right? These POCs and demos and anything that's, helping customer to visualize what he kind of wants to get out of the project, that brings us closer to success. But I think we've got to be very honest with our customers, right? Today, we're not trying to build a one-day relationship, right? We're wanting to sign off a long-term relationship. I don't think today any of our our product strategies are, single-headed, right? We want to go sell, and it calls for a really long-lasting relationship with customers. So if it means that A is what he's going to be benefited by, I'd rather say A, right? Because I don't want my relationship to with the customer getting close with that one particular transaction. So you've got to have a long-term picture, and he's going to appreciate that. There are a lot of customers, a lot of deals that I have lost to competition. Right, and customer had his own, reasons for that. Sometimes it's price, sometimes it's budget, whatever that is, right? Or technically somebody else qualified. But we were honest about it, and we said this is what our product qualifies for, and this is the roadmap that you get when you go back and join hands with something like VMware, right? And they came back to us, right? 6 months down, we're talking to them again, and we're talking larger projects with them, right? So I think building relationship, building that trust is very, very important. Rest is the rest of it will follow.
And to both Sonali and Veena's point, right, and Aditi for that matter, I think this, and the person in the audience who asked for this, 90% of the time when we walk into a new customer setup or even an existing customer, they feel they know better than our own solution. They feel what they plan, they think we don't know enough. They'll be like, I want this, so you can't come and prove me wrong. So it's a very thin balance, like what Veena and Sonali mentioned, right? We know that probably this would be a better fit for the customer, but most customers are not opposed to hearing that out, right? Because they know what they want, but they probably don't know what we have to offer in addition, which would probably be better. And when we demonstrate that, 90% of the time, again, it's a win-win for all. They get what they want, and plus they get this added, bit. So I think, like she said, it's important to keep that credibility with the customer and be extremely honest. But convincing the customer is something we do every single day, because the customers know their environment best. So it's very difficult for them to let us in until we can prove it to them that, this is the best fit.
Okay, Aditi, I think we're almost out of time. The questions that I had, only one is, most of them have actually been answered over the course of the last 1 hour. Do you have anything that wants to be needed to be answered? Anything from the live questions? Otherwise, there's one quick one for Sonali. How do you manage doing sales during COVID? considering it's a people connect job and you don't connect face to face anymore? I mean, it's almost like inside sales for you now, I guess.
Like I said earlier, right? It has been a challenge actually for both, even for us as sales and for our customers themselves. We all didn't know what hit us, but eventually, in a few months, we all adapted to this new reality and the new normal at the best that we could, right? We had to rewire the way we engage with our customers. And I kept telling my team that if an inside sales team can be a revenue generation pillar for many organizations, make an impact, get in revenue, we just have to adapt those new skills, right? Change our engagement style for sure. While at BFSI, for me, because they were classified as essential services, we managed to, customers came to office much earlier. And I think the way we've settled in a hybrid model where most of the work we do remotely, and just for very critical meetings, we tend to get to meet the customer. But it's more a hybrid model and a lot of rewiring for us as sales team to manage in this pandemic situation.
I'm sure, absolutely. Okay, it's 5 o'clock, past 5:01 actually. Aditi, I'm okay. I think we'll. Is there any question that needs to be answered from the live audience?
I think what I'm going to catch up on the chat is to drop an questions on our email address with VMware Nirman, and we'd be happy to get in touch with you. And you have our names. If you ever want any kind of mentorship advice, also hit all of us up on LinkedIn. We're happy to engage. And if you're interested in VMware, also to let you know more.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, send in your questions. The panelists will separately reply to you. So thank you, Sonali, Sushmita, Veena, Aditi, delightful discussion. Thanks for sharing your views, letting us speak into your career journeys. I hope our session here helps those who are starting out in the tech industry, particularly sales, and inspires those who are already in the tech sales team to dream big. Thank you all. And now we have a closing note from the Vice President and MD of VMware India, Pradeep Nair. Pradeep.
Okay, so how did that go? I had a great time. It was wonderful to hear our leaders talk about how they've excelled in building a career in sales. So thank you, Aditi, Sushmita, Sonali, and Veena. And thanks, Sujit. I love the way you help them tell their stories, draw the nuances of each of them in their own authentic voice. So this right here, folks, is why I love my job, working with sales leaders like these. Competitive, expert, always challenging the status quo as they do their best for VMware and their customers. We are an industry that sometimes is guilty of hyping up words like disruption and innovation. But what our best leaders do is drive disruptive change for our customers every day. I was speaking to the CIO of a major bank recently, and he appreciated the fact that for a new application that they were getting ready to roll out, the VMware sales team came to him with a provocative new deployment strategy. And that's a word that he used, provocative. This strategy actually put VMware revenue at risk in the short term, but if he did it right, it would deliver a superior outcome for the bank and for its customers. And 6 months later, that's exactly what happened. But it would not have come true if the VMware sales team had not had the courage to come up with this fresh thinking that pushed the bank to adopt a new way of serving their customers. This is why a career in sales is such great fun. You're at the front line of making magic happen for your customers. I mean, you can build great product, but real magic happens when customers use your product, deploy your software, take advantage of the capabilities that you've built, right? And that's a rush that is tough to beat. And honestly, it can be a little addictive. And frankly, I have no problems with that. So as you listened to our leaders talk about their experiences, I'm sure one of two things happened. One, of course, it revalidates your choice of sales as a career. And the second, I'm hoping it did for you, is that it gave you some fresh new thinking, some food for thought, some ideas you can expand on to help you accelerate this rewarding, exhilarating roller coaster ride you're on to sales excellence. So once again, thank you for listening in, and I wish you the very best in your sales career.